Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
China has changed very much in the last 50 years. Not long ago, most people in China worked on farms. About 4 out of 5 people worked in fields. Almost everyone, maybe 96 out of 100 people, was very poor. But today, China is very different. It makes almost 1/3 of all the things the world buys. China is now strong and important. It makes things, trades with other countries, and even tries to go to space, like Russia and the United States. This big change happened while the Communist Party controls the country. Many people ask, how did China change so fast? In the last 30 years, China became strong very quickly. It seems like it caught up to countries that were much richer before. This is the interesting story of China. China is a very old country. Some old places like Mesopotamia or Egypt started thousands of years ago. Mesopotamia started about 6,000 years ago. Egypt started about 5,000 years ago. These places had kings and built big things, but these old countries are gone now. China started about 4,000 years ago. It is the only very old country like this that still exists today. And now it is becoming a leader in the world economy again. Long ago, China was not one big country. It was many small parts with different rulers. Then, about 2,200 years ago, the first emperor joined these parts together. This emperor has a famous tomb with 8,000 soldier statues made of clay. After this time, China grew bigger. It traded goods like silk and tea with other places using the Great Silk Road. China kept the ways it made things secret. For a long time, China thought it was the most important place in the world. They called their country the Celestial Empire, meaning the empire under heaven. They believed China was the center of the world. Other places far away were seen as wild or not important. Because of this idea, Chinese people often acted like they were better than people from Europe. This book looks at China's long history and its big, fast change. We will explore how this old empire is becoming powerful in the world one more time. 2. Old China and the world. China is a very old country. Its story started about 4,000 years ago. At first, it was not one big country. There were many small parts like little kingdoms with different rulers. But then, a very strong ruler united all these parts. This happened a long time ago in 221 BC. He became the first emperor of China. From this time, China started to grow bigger. China traded with other countries in Asia. This trade created a famous route called the Great Silk Road. Chinese things like silk, tea, and beautiful cups called porcelain traveled far away on this road. Some even went to the Roman Empire. But China kept its ways of making things very secret. For example, making silk came from special worms called silkworms. China did not want others to know how to make silk. If someone told the secret, they could be killed. China also did not let many foreigners come into the country. Getting to China was hard too. High mountains were in the west. A big desert was in the north. Thick forests called jungles were in the south. These things helped keep China separate from many other places for a long time. Because China was separate for so long, people there started to think in a special way. They believed China was the center of the world. They called their country the Celestial Empire, which means the empire under heaven. They thought lands outside China were wild and not civilized. So when people from Europe came, the Chinese often acted like they were more important. Later, ships from Europe found a way to sail to Asia by sea. Ships from Portugal, Spain, and Holland came first. Then British ships arrived too. They came to a city in the south of China called Guangzhou. This city became a busy port for trade with other countries. The Chinese emperor let Europeans open small trading places there, but there were rules. Europeans could not travel far into China. They could not live there with their families. Also, China wanted only one thing for its goods: silver. China did not have much silver or gold in its land. So it needed to get silver from other countries. A lot of silver came from the Americas like Mexico and Peru. Ships carried this silver across the ocean to pay for Chinese silk, tea, and porcelain. China sold many things, but it did not buy much from Europe. Chinese people thought European goods were not as good as Chinese goods. Also, China had a very large number of people. In the 1700s, about 170 million people lived there. This was more people than in all of Europe at that time. China had good land for farming and many workers. Before factories and machines changed the world, China could make almost everything it needed by itself. It did not depend on other countries. For many centuries, China was a very rich and powerful country in the world. 3. Trouble arrives. For a long time, China was strong and stable. Most people worked on farms. The country had a very large number of people, more than all of Europe in the 18th century. China could make almost everything it needed. Because of this, China did not grow richer over many centuries. New ideas and machines came very slowly because China was separate from the rest of the world. Any extra food or money was used by the growing number of people. Life for most people stayed the same for hundreds of years. But things were different in Europe. European countries often fought with each other. They always tried to be stronger. This competition made them develop new ideas and machines faster. They improved trade and learned from each other. For example, gunpowder was invented in China. The Chinese used it mostly for fireworks. But when Europeans learned about gunpowder, they used it to make better guns and cannons. This helped European countries become very powerful. They built strong armies and navies. Great Britain became one of the strongest countries in Europe. It started the Industrial Revolution. This meant building factories and using machines to make large amounts of goods, like cloth and tools. Britain needed places to sell all these new goods. China looked like a perfect place. It had millions of people who could buy British things. Also, British people loved drinking Chinese tea, but China only wanted silver as payment. Britain wanted to sell more goods to China than it bought from China. This way, Britain could get its silver back and become richer. In 1793, a man from Britain, Lord Macartney, went to China. He carried a letter from the British king. The letter asked the Chinese emperor to open more ports for trade and give Britain better conditions. But the emperor said no. He believed China did not need anything from Europe. He thought European goods were not as good as Chinese ones. China wanted to keep its silver and did not want to buy many things from foreigners. The emperor told the British that China would not change its rules. This answer was not good for Britain. The British government wanted China's silver and wanted to sell its factory goods. So Britain started looking for something that Chinese people would want to buy. They found a product, opium. Opium is a drug. It was used as medicine in China sometimes. But Europeans brought tobacco smoking to China and people liked it. Soon, people learned to mix opium with tobacco and smoke it. This mixture made people feel good, but it was very dangerous. Opium contains morphine, which makes people want it more and more. It was very hard to stop using it. Britain started to grow large amounts of opium poppies in its colony, India. Then British ships brought the opium to China to sell. At first, it was a small business. But soon, more and more Chinese people started smoking opium. The Chinese government saw a problem. Silver was leaving China to pay for the opium. Also, many people were becoming sick and could not work because of the drug. In the year 1800, the emperor banned opium imports. But the trade did not stop. Smugglers secretly brought even more opium into China. Over the next 40 years, the amount of opium increased 9 times. Trouble was growing fast for China. 4. The Opium Wars. The problem with opium in China grew much bigger. Many people started smoking it. This was bad for people's health and for the country. China lost silver paying Britain for the drug. The Chinese government knew it had to stop the opium trade. In 1800, the emperor made opium illegal, but smuggling continued. British traders brought in much more opium over the next 40 years. In 1839, an official named Lin Zexu took action in Guangzhou. He forced British traders to give him their opium. He destroyed hundreds of tons of it. Lin Zexu wrote to Britain's Queen Victoria asking her to stop the drug trade. She did not read his letter. Britain used the burned opium as a reason to attack China. In 1839, British warships arrived. The First Opium War began. Britain had much better ships and guns. China's weapons were old. Britain's small army easily defeated China's large army. China could not win against Britain's modern military technology. China lost the war and signed the Treaty of Nanking in 1842. This treaty forced China to pay Britain a lot of money, 8 million kilograms of silver. China also gave Hong Kong Island to Britain forever. And China had to open 5 more port cities for British trade. Smuggling opium became easier. In 1856, the Chinese stopped a British ship they said carried opium. Britain used this to start the Second Opium War. Britain attacked Chinese cities again. China lost this war too. After this, China had to make selling opium legal. Soon many Chinese farmers grew opium instead of food. By the early 1900s, millions of Chinese men smoked opium. China was not fully ruled by Britain like India was, but the wars were a big shock. China used to think it was the strongest country. Now foreigners had defeated them easily. Chinese people felt ashamed. This time is called the Century of Humiliation. The emperor became weak. Many people believed China needed big changes. This difficult time led to more problems later. 5. Changes and war. At the beginning of the 20th century, China faced many problems. Its economy was not strong. Many people wanted big changes. They saw that Japan, a country nearby, became modern and strong by changing its old ways. In China, people wanted to remove the emperor, the old ruler. In 1911, a revolution happened. The last emperor lost his job. China was not ruled by an emperor anymore. But after the emperor left, there was no peace. Different groups fought to control the country. It was a difficult time with much disorder. Two main groups grew strong. One group was the nationalists. They had support from people in business and people who owned land. The other group was the communists. They followed ideas from Russia. Many farmers, who were the largest group of people in China, supported the communists. For a time, the Nationalist Party was stronger and led the government. Japan watched the changes in China. Japan did not want China to become strong again. Japan wanted China's land and materials, so in 1937 Japan attacked China. This was the start of a long and terrible war for China. Because Japan was attacking, the nationalists and the communists agreed to stop fighting each other. They needed to fight together against Japan. The nationalist army fought the Japanese soldiers in big battles. The communist soldiers often fought in the countryside. They used surprise attacks against the Japanese army. Working together helped China in the war against Japan. The war against Japan ended in 1945 when Japan lost World War II, but the fighting in China did not stop. The nationalists and the communists started fighting each other again. Both groups wanted to be the leaders of China. The long war with Japan had made the nationalist government weak. Many Chinese people thought the nationalists were not fair or honest. The communists seemed like heroes to many people because they fought well against Japan. The communists also received help from the Soviet Union, a powerful country next to China. Because of this, the communists won the Civil War. On October 1, 1949, the leader of the communists, Mao Zedong, announced a new country, the People's Republic of China. The nationalist soldiers and their leaders lost the war on the mainland. They escaped to the island of Taiwan. The United States sent ships to help protect them there. So China was divided. The communists controlled the large mainland country, while the nationalists controlled Taiwan. After about 100 years of weakness and foreign influence, China was independent again. But it was now a communist country in a world divided by the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. 6. Mao's China. In 1949, the Communist Party won the war in China. Their leader was Mao Zedong. He started the People's Republic of China. Mao wanted to build a strong communist country. China began to change many things. The government took control of businesses and farms. The Soviet Union, another big communist country, helped China at first. They sent machines and people with special skills to help China grow. Mao had a big plan called the Great Leap Forward. He wanted China to make much more steel and grow much more food very quickly. He hoped China could become stronger than countries like Great Britain in industry. But there were big problems. Mao asked everyone, even farmers in villages, to make steel. People built small furnaces in their backyards. They melted useful things like cooking pots and farm tools to make steel. This steel was not good quality. Also, because many people were making steel, not enough people worked on the farms. Food was not harvested and it rotted in the fields. Mao also started a plan to kill pests. These were animals like rats, flies, mosquitoes, and sparrows. Mao thought sparrows ate too much grain, so people killed millions and millions of sparrows, but sparrows also ate insects. Without the sparrows, insects like locusts grew in number and ate the crops. This made the food problem even worse. These plans did not work well. Between 1958 and 1962, China had a terrible famine. There was not enough food to eat. Millions of people died. Some say 20 million people died, others say it might be more than 40 million. Even with these big problems, many Chinese people still supported Mao. Why? Before Mao, China had many years of war. Mao brought peace to the country. He made China feel strong again. The government also started providing basic things for people. More children could go to school for free. Fewer people were unable to read and write. People also got basic health care. Many ordinary people felt that the government was helping them. Mao's picture and his ideas were everywhere. His little red book of thoughts was read by almost everyone. But when Mao died in 1976, China was still a poor country. Most people still worked on farms, often using simple tools. Almost everyone was very poor and did not have much more than basic food like rice. 7. Opening the door. After Mao Zedong died in 1976, a new leader came to power. His name was Deng Xiaoping. Deng was part of the Communist Party like Mao, but he had different ideas about how to make China strong again. He famously said, "It doesn't matter if a cat is black or white as long as it catches mice." This meant that good ideas were good ideas, even if they seemed different from old communist ways. In December 1978, Deng announced a new plan for China. He called it socialism with Chinese characteristics. This plan started big changes. The first changes were for the farmers. Before, farmers worked together on big collective farms. Now the government let families use small pieces of land. They had to give some food to the government, but they could keep or sell any extra food they grew. This made farmers work harder. In just 5 years, farms produced much more food. By 1984, most land was leased to families. The land still belonged to the state, but families could use it for many years. Because farming became better, not everyone needed to be a farmer. Many people moved to the cities looking for work. Deng's government also allowed people to start small private businesses. Soon, streets were full of small shops, places to get haircuts, and restaurants. Private business started to become important for China's economy. Deng knew China needed new technology and ideas from other countries. China was still behind America, Japan, and countries in Europe. So in 1978, important party members traveled to these countries to learn. Deng also traveled to improve relationships with other nations. Relations with the Soviet Union were not good. Deng decided China needed new friends. He improved relations with the United States. The U.S. President Nixon visited China in 1972. Later, in 1979, the U.S. agreed that there was only one China. China started sending students to America, and American experts came to help in China. China wanted American money and technology. To bring in foreign money and companies, Deng created special economic zones or SEZs. These were special areas near the coast. The first four SEZs started in 1980. Foreign companies in the SEZs paid lower taxes. China had millions of workers who could work for low pay. This attracted many foreign companies. Cities in the SEZs like Shenzhen grew very, very fast. Deng also gave more power to China's provinces. Local governments could keep more of the money they made and use it for local projects. This made provinces compete to grow their economies faster. Another big change happened with Hong Kong. Britain controlled Hong Kong for a long time. In 1984, Deng and the British leader agreed that Hong Kong would return to China in 1997. Hong Kong kept its own money system and laws for 50 years. This idea was called one country, two systems. Hong Kong became very important for China's business with the world. Deng Xiaoping opened China's door to new ideas and the world, starting a period of fast economic growth. 8. The world's factory. China did not just open its doors, it wanted to become the world's factory. Many big companies from other countries came to China. They saw a huge country with many people who could work for low pay. At first, these foreign companies often had to work together with Chinese companies. The foreign companies brought money and new ways of making things, called technology. The Chinese companies helped with finding workers and understanding the rules in China. But China had a plan. It learned very carefully from these foreign companies. Sometimes Chinese companies copied the technology. This was a fast way to make good products without spending lots of money on research. For example, some Chinese cars looked very similar to American cars. This happened with clothes and electronics too. Copying helped Chinese factories catch up with companies in richer countries. The Chinese government also helped its own companies. It gave them money and support. This made it easier for Chinese businesses to grow strong. Soon, Chinese companies were not just copying, they started buying famous foreign companies. A Chinese car company bought Volvo from Sweden. Another Chinese company bought Motorola's phone business from Google. China became very good at making some things. Look at high-speed trains. China first bought trains and technology from countries like Germany and France. Then, Chinese engineers learned quickly and started making their own trains. Now, China has the longest high-speed train network in the world, and its train companies are bigger than the ones they learned from. They even sell trains to other countries. This fast growth worried other countries, especially the United States. The US saw China becoming a powerful competitor. America started to put special taxes on things made in China to make them more expensive. They also stopped some Chinese technology companies like Huawei from selling products in the US. This started trade problems between the two big countries. China sells a lot of things to the world, maybe more than it uses itself. Making goods for export is a very big part of its economy. Buying things inside China, called domestic consumption, is not as high as in countries like the US or in Europe. To make trade easier, China is building new roads and ports in many countries. This project is sometimes called the New Silk Road. But China faces new problems now. Its economy is not growing as fast as before. It is harder to grow quickly when you are already big. Also, China has fewer young people. For many years, families could only have one child. Now there are more old people and not enough young workers. This makes work more expensive. Some foreign companies are thinking about moving their factories to other countries where workers cost less, like Vietnam or Mexico. The future is not certain. Will China keep growing stronger, or will these problems slow it down?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.